Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to today's KCF book review webinar. On behalf of KCF, thank you all for joining us. I'm your host, Nilesh Mange. We are extremely delighted to have such large audience today with us for what I believe is going to be a very insightful and thought-provoking session on a Sunday morning. So, welcome. Today's session revolves around the powerful and widely appreciated book, uh, The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. Before we begin discussing the book, let me also briefly speak about the author behind this powerful idea, right? Dan Sullivan is one of the world's most respected entrepreneurial coaches, thought leaders. He's also the founder of Strategic Coach, a globally renowned coaching program for entrepreneurs, uh, which has been going on for more than 35 years now. Uh, Over the decades, Dan has coached like thousands of business owners, founders, and high achievers across the world, helping them not just build successful businesses but also better lives and clear thinking, right? uh, the book that we're discussing today combines decades of this business coaching wisdom with the writing and research expertise of his co-author Benjamin Hardy, right, who is also a best-selling author, by the way, and a organizational psychologist known for simplifying powerful ideas into practical frameworks. So together they have created this book, which is not just motivational but deeply practical and transformational. Uh, Two powerful concepts come out of this book. One is the gap, right, where we measure ourselves against an ideal and constantly feel inadequate as business owners, right? And the other aspect is the gain, where we measure ourselves against our own progress and growth. So we'll unpack these ideas very soon. It's a wonderful book. So we have with us someone who brings tremendous business experience, practical wisdom, clarity of thought, and in fact, he has done multiple book reviews with us in the past as well. I think almost 8 to 9 book reviews in last year. So gives me great pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Rajesh Chheda. Rajesh Bhai is a chartered accountant and a certified financial planner by qualification. Evolved into a risk assessor and a guide by profession. So he's based in Goa and a life member of the Million Dollar Roundtable. He's also a member, KCF member. He loves academia, right? Uh, Being a visiting professor at the Goa University and the Goa Institute of Management. In fact, a good trivia here. Many families, in fact, have had an intergenerational relationship over 2 to 3 decades working with him and his team. So that's you know quite a bit of legacy. Uh, he also is a franchisee of International College of Financial Planning for CFP education and a realtor consultant, right? So it is very difficult to describe this man in one or two sentences. Uh, so today he'll walk us through the key learnings, practical applications, and personal insights from the gap and the gain. And I'm sure all of us will leave with valuable takeaways that we can apply in our lives and businesses. But before I hand over the session to Rajesh Bhai, I would like to call upon our president, Mukesh Bhai, to say a few words.
Thank you, Nilesh bhai. Good morning and Jai Jinendra to everybody. It's a lovely Sunday because જ્યારે આપણે વિચાર કરીએ what to do on a Sunday, you do not know. Chalo, we'll go for a movie or something. But nothing can be, better than doing a book review, getting such fantastic knowledge about the experience of decades of experience writer puts in that, 200, 300 pages and then somebody summarizing that book for you in half an hour 45 minutes. ये शॉर्टकट बहुत मजे की बात है बिकॉज बाकी सबकी मेहनत में हमने आधा पौना घंटा में डिकेड्स ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस हम जान लेते हैं एंड यू सडनली फील ओ दिस संडे हैज नॉट बीन वेस्टेड. आराम तो कर लिया लेकिन साथ में हमने ज्ञान भी ले लिया. So thank you, Rajesh, for being our permanent go-to person for book reviews. At the same time, I would invite everybody of you who is interested in reading books to come forward and do a book review, which can, benefit everybody. It's not an easy thing. Let me tell you, doing a big book review is not an easy thing. You need to read that book not once, but several times to be able to do that review with confidence. So, and if you're doing a book review, it's also going to help you, gain that in-depth knowledge about that book and that writer, what he has in his mind. So please take this opportunity, please come forward, and KCF will give you that platform to do the book review. The new year has started. Most of the people have renewed their membership. Few are still pending. If you are one of them, please do renew your membership. A lot of fantastic programs are being lined up, and I'm sure the way last 2 years we did almost 45 programs in last 2 years. I'm sure the next 2 years of my second term as a president, there are still more challenges because it's said that what brought you here will not take you there. And what to expect, I'll just urge you to go through the advertisement, which we had given in the Patrika, and it would be on our website also, about the 35 member team and who are the types of people who are there in our KCF committees and various committees. And I'm sure you will experience something, 10x from what we did in last 2 years. We had our recent full committee meeting, and the type of talks which we had, that talk itself charges us. Oh, we have so many new ideas now from new people. Now, Nilesh Mange, ex-McKinsey guy, he represents the Bhanushali Samaj, and he's also now in our committee. And the inputs which he had given for the social media, what we can do, I'm really thrilled. I'm not going to tell you much more. I'm not going to open the ideas that we have been talking about. It's about delivering rather than talking. And when we deliver, we will come back to you and say, okay, yes, this is what we had thought of. And great support from everybody. And through entrepreneurial growth is what we think that we are doing a service to our nation. So welcome once again. If you're not a member, please become a member immediately. And I'll hand over back to Nilesh Bhai. Thank you all. Have a good day.
So, without much ado, I think we should go ahead and let our speaker for the day, Rajesh Bhai, take over. Rajesh Bhai, the stage is all yours, the virtual stage.
Thank you, Nilesh Bhai. Thank you, Mukesh Bhai. And thanks to KCF for giving me the privilege to share some ideas through the form of the book review. I have been very passionate about reading and learning. And the book, The Gap and the Gain, I thought of reviewing it for two reasons. One, it's a kind of a beginning of a new financial year. We are already in the second month in May, but something that we want to make a beginning. And in the past, maybe we have celebrated our past achievements and we are preparing ourselves for the future. So this could be a background for understanding. And what Nilesh Bhai mentioned about Dan Sullivan, I would only like to add a few things. Maybe about 20 years ago, when I used to attend some of the financial planning meetings or the annual meetings of the Million Dollar Roundtable, Dan Sullivan was a big hero. It was very difficult because and at that time I was a rookie, I was a newbie. And if I would meet the president or somebody else, they would go to his stall. It was the strategic coach. And there would be a lot of bonhomie, and he would give an hour's talk. At that time, it was mesmerizing, but we did not know what it meant. But whoever you looked at, sir, how did you achieve this? They might point out, I did the program as a strategic coach. Now, in those times, remember at that time, his programs were once a year, you have 4 meetings at his he was based in Canada, so in USA, Canada, and later on in London. So every 3 months, you go there for a day or two. So imagine from India, if you want to attend, more than the cost of the program, whether it was $10,000 in those days or whatever, but it will be your flight going and coming. Today, what technology has done, and in COVID times, I think it was even online and through the form of the books, a lot of leeway has happened. So, although this book, prima facie, if some of you have read it, as I was practicing it, my wife immediately remarked, "Oh, these are the certain things our Indian culture is there." It's like telling, some of the management books, maybe the Bhagavad Gita has these principles, but sometimes we need somebody else to talk about it to understand what it is. So here he begins now. Just one example, we had earlier done a review. 10x is easier than 2x, and that is probably the ethos of KCF. Like we can grow 10 times is far easier than growing 2 times. You don't have to have 10 times efforts. So that is the book he had written and which I had reviewed. Then he has also written Who, Not How. The brief concept of that was, instead of wasting your time, how do I do this? So the book emanated where he thought of an idea. Why not write 10 books? But I can't write. So how to write? He didn't think about it. He thought who. And that's how we found Benjamin Hardy. He found the qualities in him. So probably he could discuss and talk to him for about half an hour every day or a week. And that would formulate into a book. And that is how he has produced these books. Now, talking of the book, he begins, there are many quotes. So what I'm going to do to kind of shorten the time, I will share, there's a 60-page PDF of the various quotes and at the same time my slides. But it's a kind of a workbook. There are a lot of exercises involved in that. So it is up to you what you want to do. The concept begins, as the name says, the gap and the gain. And it's a US based. So they say that, when US got independence, Thomas Jefferson, he mentioned about liberty and, equality. And he says, in pursuit of happiness. Now, this sentence, pursuit of happiness, it went on to say that we are never in the happiness mode. We are always pursuing it. It is somewhere far, far away, and probably we will never achieve it. It is like the horizon. This is how the concept has been made. So what he says is, say for example, today, all of us, where are we? So supposing we are here, where did we start? We started whenever we started, okay? So from the start, we are here. And where do we want to go? We want to go somewhere there. It's an ideal. So what he says, from where we are today and where we want to go, that is something that appears to be difficult to achieve. So he calls it as a gap. And where we have already achieved from the start, he calls it gain. Now, by way of various examples, he talks. It could be, something like the opening. I'll just say some quotes. There is something like, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. This is the famous Buddhist quote of Thich Nhat Hanh. And basically, what he talks in the way of an example, maybe we can relate in the financial services field. So there is one person, Howard, and he has a client called Chad. This particular client was very unhappy. Though he had maybe $2.5 million, he was unhappy by saying that, no, things are bad. I do not know. I need to be financially free at 40. Maybe if I have $5 million double, I'll be a happy man. So they set up the plan for him. They worked out the things. And over a few years, 2.5 million became 5 million. Was he happy? Again, no. He was again unhappy. He says, no, now I feel I'm still not happy. Maybe if I double it to 10 million, I'll be happy then. Once again, they reworked the things. Again, a few years passed by and maybe the markets were doing well and suddenly they crossed 10 million. Again, they ask him. The third, at this point of time, he's a little uncertain and he says, I think I'll want a little more. Now, see where we are. He was living in the gap. The word, as he progresses, he says he was living in the gap. That means he was never happy. So it's not that we are kind of we should be excited, we should be happy, we have achieved a certain goal. Now, it so happened practically at some point of time in 2019, he decided, he comes to the advisor and says, I think the market is going to go all crashing down. I want to withdraw everything, about $17 million which had achieved. He withdrew and kept it in the bank. And 2 years later, the markets already went up by 68%. So you can understand how exactly were the repercussions of a person living in the gap. Now, probably some of them are students from attending from the management. There has been a talk once upon a time how teaching was. Probably some of the schools were training students in the days of the factories to create workers, to create people who would obey orders, and that is how the thing started off. Why I'm talking on this subject is because there's a little dark side of it, that it has been observed that people who get into a kind of a negative, a depressed mode, uh, they are not the ones who are in a bad situation. There are some students, if you've heard about the teenage suicides and all, they are actually the straight A's. Probably they are taught to compare with the others. That the parent, somebody might say that you should achieve rather than comparing it with themselves. So they might feel, oh my God, we've done this, but the yardstick is different. And at age 16, 17, if I'm not happy at what I'm achieving, what is the point of living till 60? And I come from Goa last week. I need to share this. It's a little kind of a personal news from the Goa based, that there is a institution called BITS Pilani. And unfortunately, there was a seventh case of a student committing suicide. Now, this is something not very, very nice to know. So probably I would suggest, I have no equations with the company, book publishing company, but sometimes there are these books which could be a mandatory reading to understand, keep yourselves happy. That, when we, as I kind of go through and suggest some ideas, we will understand. Let me just kind of do a screen sharing. Is it visible to all? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now what we talk is something called, he talks of the high achievers paradox. Okay. That is, the high achievers are uniquely prone to dissatisfaction because they tie happiness to a future ideal. So what he says, and he's used a wonderful word called hedonic adaptation. What it means is that whatever it is, we are on a hedonic treadmill. That means whatever goal we achieve, immediately we switch and we get to another goal. We keep on adjusting ourselves. So the goalpost constantly moves. So it ensures that the ideal remains forever out of reach. Now, at this point of time, okay, there is one quote I would like to share. If you focus on what you lack, you lose what you have. But if you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. Now, when you are in gap, okay, now here, what basically he's trying to say is, wherever you are, stop measuring forward against an unreachable ideal. Start measuring backward against where you started. Now, here he gives a wonderful example of a person called Dan Jansen in his Olympic quest. He was a fantastic ice skater. But somehow, whenever he used to participate in the races, he would have a fantastic beginning, but somewhere or the other, it would not work. So in one of the Olympics, he was participating in about 2-3 races. So he finished the best of these races. He finished 8th. He was very unhappy. He was living in the gap. So the final race, which was probably he said, okay, this will be my last race. What have I got to lose? So he started living in the gain. That is, he started thinking backwards. Wow, what a wonderful opportunity I got to be a skater. I'm getting into the Olympics. What are the great times I had of my life? Let me give it a try. I win or I lose is not a material. Doesn't matter. And he participated with that with a smile on his face and go to see that was a Olympic record and it was supposed to be one of the best achievements of his. Now, this is something called, there are many examples told in this book where they talk about living in the gain. Now, the concept of living in the gain, he says that it is, see, it sounds very difficult. How can we think of the past and how can I change my past? But he does say that yes, technically the past can be changed. So how can we change the past? Past is past. What has happened has happened. But he does an experiment by asking certain people, think about your past. Think which you probably were not very happy in your teenage years. You must have had challenges and parenting and growing and all those things which happened. Write it down. Today, what you think? And perhaps after writing, that person says, no, I think my dad, I didn't feel good that time, but I think what he told me to take care of my health did make an impact today. So he starts saying that, that's how you start living in the game. Now, here, when he says, gap versus gain, he has given, apart from this, he's given some quotes, okay, some names. So I'll just say, when you say living in the gap, that means you are comparing yourself from the ideal. There are 6 words he uses, okay. What is the outcome? There is failure, there is frustration, there is disappointment, there is low self-esteem, there is guilt, there is depression. This is what happens when you're living in the gap. I can't do it, I can't achieve it. In today's world, maybe AI is happening. I do not know where I will stand today, how I will go about it. So there are all these things which are happening in our minds. On the other hand, when you say when you're living in the gain, it says that you're living in the success, you're living in a satisfaction, you're living in a confidence, you're living in a high self-esteem, you're living in enjoyment, and you're living in optimism. You're very, very happy with what it is. Okay. Now, at this point of time, there are various exercises that they ask to do. Okay. Now, these are the things which I will share with, like how do you measure progress? Like, don't undermine your measurements. Sometimes he says that, if you say that, no, I have measured it, but still I'm unhappy, that means probably you're lying as a human being about yourself, that if you are still feeling unhappy after achieving your goal, that means revisit the things. Then, okay, now these are various worksheets. Every chapter there is some kind of a what you call workbook. So I would always suggest that I will send some 60 pages of the PDF of this audio to share. So these are the small exercises which one could do by oneself, and it does help. Now here the talk is of sustainable future. Now, one word that caught my attention over here is something called journalizing. He says that if you write, and he talks about, one example also he talks about, the book, written by Viktor Frankl, in search, he was a person who was imprisoned in the Nazi camp. He lost his wife the next day. He took a decision. He removed his ring, and he said that I have to live and I have to, and he had some certain principles. I have to be optimistic. I have to be a little humor. And in that, staying in that situation, he managed to survive. And his book is supposed to be one of the most memorable books ever written, is because from day one, he was living in the game. Now here, when we say, starting with happiness, there are two graphs he has shown. One is the gain trajectory. From the day one, from the present, the green line which you see, you're constantly living in the gain. Whereas the dotted line, which is the gap trajectory, there is desperation, you're chasing the need, you're tying happiness to future conditions, diminishes appreciation of the present life you are living. So every time you're thinking of you're dreading the future. And that is a time where you feel that you're not in a very happy state. Now, he says, when you live in the game, it is to embrace the freedom of wants over needs. Now, here is a very important thing called wants and needs. Needs are something that keep you in the gap. Wants is something that don't keep you. I want to achieve. Now, this he gives by another example. Say, for example, he talks of uh, a camp. Okay, there is a coach, and in that, it's like, for 90 years, the people in the London crew of we call it the British rowing team. They ended a 90-year track of no gold by winning a goal. What they used to do, they used to have only one decision. There was something filtering. The decision was, whatever questions you have, ask yourself one question only as a team. Will it make the boat go faster? So that means tomorrow someone says, you know what? I feel like going for a party. I'm a member of the crew. We have to win the race. Let me ask the same question. Will my going to the party, will it make the boat go faster? And if the answer is no, I don't go. So maybe the next day I'll get a hangover, I'll not go. Do I want to eat a donut or do I want to eat something else? The answer is no. And that is way, by practicing it, they won the gold. Now, again, if you see with this, some of the examples, this is one thing, the one slide that I liked very much. There is something called, in Notre Dame, in nuns, 180 nuns who were born before 1917, they were asked to do a journaling. They were asked to write a journal over 50 years. And then they found that some of the nuns who were pessimists, they were not happy. And those who were very happy with what life had given them, they found that on an average, the people who were optimistic lived on an average 10 years more. So it's a biological cost of gap. Now, these are the things which I feel when I read it, maybe we took it for granted. Some of us may be living in the gain without realizing it. Some of us, while living in the gain, might actually be living in the gap, and then again, kind of, tracking forward and backward. He gives some examples of the extreme end of optimism. Even if the massive accident takes place, you lose an arm, and imagine the person is optimist, he's positive, he's living in the gain. Thank God I didn't die. Thank God I'll make myself better. So he gives some examples. It's a little difficult to believe where a couple lost their 3.5-month-old child, Gavin. At that point of time, they both made a decision that we will live for the child whom we lost, but we will not live in misery. Now, it is not easy. There are personal relationships. He talks of an example of after 15 years, two people could not somehow, a person's wife said that, it's not possible for me to live anymore with you. And, it was heading to some divorce, separation. But on that note, though he loved her so much and he could not convince her, they had 3 beautiful children, he kind of accepted the fact that probably what is right for her, they may have a meaning behind it. But it's like, when we read through the book, you'll get the gist of it, that how, when we can't avoid it, you have to live in the gain. Now, there is something called the obsessive passion and the harmonious passion. What he says is the harmonious passion is fueled by intrinsic motivation and a healthy want. Identity remains secure regardless of outcome. On the other hand, if you're obsessive by unresolved internal pain and a desperate need, identity is tied entirely to the outcome. When you fail, you are a failure. So here, okay, there is a case study of Trevor Lawrence where they say that, he was drafted to a struggling NFL franchisee. He faced media backlash for stating football didn't define his entire identity. Probably he was misunderstood. When he made a statement in the social media, what he meant was, I love football. I would not have done anything other than football. But in case I didn't get it, it doesn't mean the life is over for me. Then he clarified afterwards and he says, "No, that whatever it is, but for me, I'm accepting what it is, and that is how I am good." So there's a little bit of paradox. If suppose you're passionate about something and you accept it, you live with it, and you try to excel in that particular field. Here he talks of freedom from, so something which is external factors. Avoid those external factors. Look at your own internal factors. Compare yourself internally, what you are, how you want to beat your own self. The benchmarking is not your neighbor, how exactly your neighbor is doing or something. How exactly I can improve myself, or have I done good now? Okay, let me look at the past. See, if I go a little bit here into personal self, there are times, we all have gone through in the last 35 years, in the financials, there have been the scams, and there have been ups and downs, there have been COVID. Now imagine in those times, the person who has lived in the gain in COVID, can I do something? And believe it, overnight, there are so many organizations who lived in the gain, have done a total turnaround and taken advantage. The other day, at one of the KCF forum, I had heard the founder of the Go Zero ice cream, Kiran Shah, how he spoke under those circumstances, situations, from his parents, grandparents, Apsara ice creams, how he created a situation where the ice cream could be delivered by the Swiggy and Blinkit and this thing, and he created a whole enterprise by himself, especially in those days of the challenging times. Now, likewise here, I already spoke about this trap, that the standardized testing and all, they are not correct. That is where we talk of the students and how they are tested, and sometimes the benchmarking is so different that it creates a lot of negative. So that's why I said this, like even the book like this. And one more thing in the book is, in the audio book, the best part is both of the authors are speaking. In reality, Dan Sullivan speaks at the end of each chapter for about 10-15 minutes. It's just like, you all must listen to this audio. So the youngsters also would like, it's a probably 5 hours audio. You in Bombay or elsewhere, you're driving, you listen to the audio, within a week's time you'll be able to hear it all out. You have the PDFs, you can look at these things. Then what he talks of, the trap, the solution: define a single sentence filtering question that ignores external noise and focuses purely on internal progress. He says, you design for your own self. Decide, what will I do? Now here there is a certain, like Dan talks of his personal relation. I remember this example with his wife, Babs, he calls her Barbara. So he says, life for me as a strategic coach has been life before her and life after she came into my life. And he talks of how in the morning they have a pact, that what are the 2-3 things he will do which will make her happy, and whatever the priority he has, if she requests himself for one thing, he always puts her request as on the top of his priority list. That is how the things of a relationship, how they are running the company so well. So he kind of defines and walks the talk. And the gold standard is what I shared about the British rowing team. And this is the another example. He talks of the women's soccer team, where earlier women were not playing soccer. So in the initial period, what he says in this championship, in that year, first half of all the matches they lost. Second half, they won all, and they finally won the medal. What they say is that this is another unique philosophy. Okay, you've lost the match. I'm giving you time. 5 minutes. Everybody keep quiet. You sit in the bus and you sulk, feeling very upset, like about yourself, whatever the frustration is there. 5 minutes over. Okay, stop. Now you're out of your gap. Now think about the positive. I'm giving you 10 minutes. What collectively good things that happened to the team? We lost the match, but still there was something good that happened. Whatever the thing. So you are shifting it from the gap to the gain. And then he says, for 20 minutes, all of you come together. Every player must point to some one good outcome the teammate did. Now, this part of it was over. He says, now forget this and let's focus on the next match. Now, this he went on doing it. So from 84 to 88, this is the thing where they went on winning. There are examples like this. So like that, there are many examples which are given. Sometimes they are intuitive. It is very difficult to believe. They've even told about a placebo effect, where some candidates are given a milkshake which is written over there 650 calories. Actually, there's only 300 calories. And another set is given the same milkshake, but there it is written 120 calories. It's the mental frame of mind. So they try to prove, some Harvard studies related to that have proven, or there's the workers who work in hotels, the housekeeping staff, they were told, one set of the housekeeping staff was told that, do you know that by cleaning, removing the beds, and you're doing a physical activity which is a part of your physique, your exercise, and it's absolutely good for you. And the other team that did the same thing, they were not told. It so happened that after 3 months, they found those people who were told that what you're doing is actually a part of an exercise regimen that keeps your body fit, they actually had better fitness scores than the other team. Now, here, where do we, it's professionally very difficult to identify how can this magic happen. That means beyond physical, there is something else in the mind over matter. So that's why you see in some organizations, like someone was telling me, in the Brahma Kumaris, every 1 hour there is a bell. Just stop everything and kind of just get up and be a little bit in your own pensive for a minute in your own searching thing, and again get back to it. There are a lot of these positives which are happening. Now here he talks of the core principle: the meaning and value are not given to us, they are created. Your past is not fixed, it is flexible based on how you interpret it. Now, this how you interpret it, it is all dependent on you yourself. Okay, either you say that you're in the worst situation, then you are. Either you say you're in the best of the situation, then you are. So it's all in your mind. Then he says there is a stimulus. This creates a stimulus. And then he says the EQ divider. People with low emotional intelligence fixate on fairness, violations, and stay stuck in the gap. High EQ individuals control their response. Now, there's something what we say, no, we can't control what is happening outside, but we can control ourselves. That's where he tries to get into. And the mantra is, you are either winning or learning. This, I liked it very much. There's not such thing as either winning or losing. There's no such thing as losing. Either you win or you're learning something which prepares you for the next big win. Now here, this I say that for me personally, this is the best slide of all. Okay. Now, this is something which is very intriguing. Okay. This is the data. Now, this is the book written in 2021, 22, 4 years back. I'm sure from 4 years back, this would have been a worse situation. 96.9% of the people use phones in the hour before bed, and 90% of them use them in the bed. This may be the data of the US, and I'm sure India is not much behind.
I think now 99% use it on bed.
And I have something personal to share after reading this. I'll share this soon. So here, what he says, behaviors and thoughts immediately preceding sleep are heavily coded into long-term memory, locking in reactivity and stress. What he says is 1 hour before you sleep. Now, the Edison's rule. Now, once upon a time, Thomas Alva Edison said, never go to bed without a request to your subconscious. Now, personally, I had to do this book review. 8 days back, okay, I'll read the book. I read it before, but this time I'll read it again. I'll make copious notes. I prepared the notes. Last night, I said, and a week earlier, I said, let me be off the mobile. Now, if you see the smartphone, I think I have a very good smartphone, the iPhone 17, which of lately I've taken a decision. I keep it more for the office usage. Practically, though, my wife will not agree with me, because at times we do need to kind of communicate. So what I did is I gifted myself with this phone now. It is the flip phone Nokia 2660. Believe it, it has my phone number. If I need to talk to, it has no WhatsApp. And let me try it as much as I can. And believe it, it does work. Now, why I'm saying this way? When I went to sleep last night, at about 10 o'clock, hearing the audio again, I had prepared copious notes in this. I'd taken the flip chart and I'd prepared every side these notes, which I'm not reading now at all. Okay. There are many things. If I go through here and I say, just for an example, Dan Sullivan says, the way to measure your progress is backward against where you started, not against your ideal. So like that, there are some very good points written there. But in the morning when I got up, it was an aha moment where I said, hey, look, let me remember, let me share, and let me give myself a kind of a 30 minutes of a talk, which this slide probably completes that 30 minutes. But this is the most important slide because look at the power. Imagine otherwise tremendously you get addicted to. I go to social media, Iran, USA, what someone is saying, that what I said for 10 minutes becomes half an hour, 1 hour, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, next day morning, you get up, your sleep cycle gets disturbed or, you get involved. So these are the things which I feel, in a lighter vein, in 22, Putin didn't call me to say that he's invading Ukraine. So, I'm not the general manager of the universe. What I mean to say is, yes, there are certain people who are in charge. They will do their work. Let's kind of a thing live our life. And I met another gentleman. If I go, say if I go to the Jain Mandir in Goa on Tuesdays, I asked him, Hasmukh bhai, you're doing so much of social service and, food and all that. What happens about the gas? ये क्या करेंगे हमने लकड़ियों का बंदोबस्त कर लिया है नहीं तो दाल चावल पे जिएंगे see the attitude of the person who is kind of living his life irrespective of what things are happening. Now this is something that I tried it in my office at work. Now this is called the compounding effect of the gain. The compounding effect of the gain. We have to look at the daily backward measurement, cements your progress into progress into long-term memory. Psychological flexibility ensures you transform setbacks into learning and evocation, and harmonious passion establish the healthy intrinsic life and life evaluation. Okay, now the result is uncapped professional growth without burnout or hedonic adaptation. Now, this is very important for all of us at KCF and the young upcoming entrepreneurs and the existing entrepreneurs. The worst name is the burnout. This burnout happens where you get stressed. So imagine every day in the life, it's like a kind of a picnic. You're happy with it. Okay. Now, if you see one of his earlier books, Who, Not How, I might say, at age, when I was 25 or something, I attended a program in IIM Ahmedabad for 5 days on, security analysis and all. Today, AI has come. I want to know about AI. I'm interested, but should I attend? Why not request my teammate who is a young person, an MBA? That person can attend it and share it with us. So it becomes a win-win situation. It's an opportunity. So this is where I feel it has worked. And you make yourself kind of free. So my role is I try to tell in my team, make me not required, that kind of a thing. So it's slowly, we are kind of getting there, but we have to live in the game, irrespective of how things are. Now, the last thing is define your criteria, protect the final R, and institutionalize positive focus. So here, I know I'm being successful when. Now use the present tense. Non-outcome based conditions, I wake up and choose what to do today. Protect the final R. Eliminate phone usage in the 60 minutes before bed. Prime your subconscious with deliberate. These are things which are very, very important. Okay. Institutionalize positive focus. Implement the strategic coach model in your teams. Start meetings with shared wins and meetings with gratitude. This is very important. Don't start meetings with complaints. Why you didn't achieve your target? Why you did not do that? Instead of that, you talk, okay, what good things have happened? Believe it. It creates a transformational. Many of the CEOs would vouch for it. Past is flexible. Acknowledge, reframe, grow. Let your past inform, not define your present. And Everything you've experienced informs how you handle things in the present. But if you don't take the time to acknowledge that experience, to accept it, good and bad, you stay stuck. So acknowledge it. Acknowledge it with a gratitude. In case if you feel you by mistake you've gone in a gap, admit it. Admit to your juniors. Admit to your children. Admit to your parents. Yes, I think I went wrong. I'll get back to it quickly. And last, I would say happiness is not something you pursue. Happiness is not somewhere in the future. Happiness is where you start, not where you finish. We have to live in the game. I'm done, and it is more than that. It is more of a Q&A, more of a discussion where if you feel there are certain areas that if anyone would like to share, I would like to hand it over to Nilesh. Before that, I'll say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do the big book review, and it has also helped me a lot. Had I just read the book, it would have been one way of looking at it. Mukesh Bhai said, by reviewing it, getting more thorough into it, I'm also very, very excited. And I take it whenever the question comes, Rajesh, would you like to review something? It's not a task, it's an opportunity. So here and I wish all of you all the best in this new last maybe remaining 10 plus months of the financial year to grow well and live in the game. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh bhai. Before we get into the Q&A part, there's some announcement Mukesh bhai would like to make.
Yeah. Thank you, Nilesh bhai. Thank you, Rajesh. Excellent thing. Would like to announce that we lost a very close, dear friend, Dr. Radhakishan Pillai. He has been a close friend of KCF, has come on our platform several times, and just few days back he had a severe heart attack in his sleep only. uh, Very young, just 52 years old. Uh, as a mark of respect, we'll observe a 2 minute silence, and then we can start the Q&A.
Om Shanti. So, thank you, Rajesh bhai, for reviewing this book. It was really an incredible session. Uh, Now, for all the participants, if you have any questions, this is the time. Put it in the chat box. We will then discuss it with Raj bhai. But Raj bhai, I have a few thoughts that I would like to ask. Right, uh, we're talking about the gap mindset and the gain mindset here in the book, right? How can one consciously move from gap mindset to gain mindset?
Okay. Here, I couldn't get time to share the exercises, but what happens is whether you are in the gap mindset or the gain mindset, there are some questions that you ask yourself. Basically, very, very simply speaking, gap is if you feel you're not happy. In a very simple way, you're not happy. The same question arises like how I just heard Rajendra Bhai agrees that over an hour on the science of unhappiness and all. So if you know that you're not happy, probably that is the way you're living in the gap.
Mm,
I'm not happy with what I am today. I'm not happy that AI is coming in, or I'm not happy with my team is not understanding me. These are the way you're living in the gap. The same thing, if I turn it around, as I told you, I can't turn the situation, but I can control myself.
right.
Maybe they have their point of view. Maybe I can listen to them. Maybe I can, like in today's world, if you see the youngsters, the Gen Z, everybody talks of their style. If I go by my way of reviewing this book for them, they will not attend.
Hmm.
I will ask them, hey, what do you think about it? How does it work for you? Then they'll say, no, no, this. So sometimes, if I'm reading a book for 3 hours, I might have a Gen Z person in 3 minutes using AI will produce the summary. In 3 minutes, they know what it is all about. But how do you explain to them that you just cannot, like say, if I want to have a counseling with a person, I understand Zoom is good, okay, but the first meeting, I'll always prefer the age old system of eyeball to eyeball personal meeting, how we can do, because we cannot do it. So then I might tell my client, look, once a year at least you come to Goa
Hmm.
to meet
Hmm.
your folks. Sometimes there are people who are abroad or whatever. How? So what I'm saying is that you convert that into gap into a gain. Now, I
Right.
was worried. I told Mukesh, I might not be sure of attending. Like I'm attending this from my office. The last 3 weekends, every Sunday there would be a shutdown. And right now I'm attending, but next to me there is a laptop. The laptop has 8 hours, and that I've got my mobile to this thing. So if at all it does a shutdown, I switch over. So then I'm still in my gap, in my gain. But otherwise, oh my God, now what to do? And this
Hmm.
is there, and I'm on my this thing. And not only that, the fear is there that in my office, if supposing I'm giving a talk, somebody, of course, a Sunday, no one will enter, but still someone may see it open and just enter kind of a thing. I locked it from outside. So I'm living in the gain because this is my gain. I have
Right.
requested my from my home front to give me this 2 hours. After that, I'll be home, and I'll give the prioritization what else has to be done. So this,
Right.
I
So
feel that.
it's just the mental switch between, focusing on the negatives and focusing on positives. Look at the positive side of things and kind of make that your gain.
And I may add one more thing. I'm not saying extremely that every time I have to be
Right.
extremely positive. I
Right.
would say I am realistically optimist.
Hmm.
At some point of time, as I said, there's a thing as winning and
And
not
learning.
losing but learning. So
Learning.
that is how I would put that yardstick.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from our cohort here today? If you have, you can put it in the chat box.
Nilesh, I would like to ask a question.
Sure.
Yeah. So the way I understood Rajesh is normally in B school, what you are being taught is you should always do a gap analysis, and then you know where you want to reach. But after listening to you, what a new understanding comes is you should be aware about the gaps, but there should not be any pressure of achieving it. The
Uh,
only thing that you know is I have done well in the past. Dwell upon that, and I will be a improved version of my own in my next attempt. Suppose आप
okay,
क्रिकेट खेल रहे हैं या जो भी आप पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, let me be
absolutely.
an improved version. If there is a overhang of a gap, that will put pressure on you, and maybe you will not be able to achieve what you want to. But if you remove that thing, let that understanding be there. So what I'm taking it is, you don't forget the gap, let that gap be in there, but let it not be an overhang. The overhang should be the gain, that is belief in yourself, that you are going to do better than your last. The attempt is going to be better. So you gave one example that of that sportsman, when he excelled, he was not bothered about the result. So when
Hmm.
you are not taking pressure, it does not mean that you will not excel.
Right.
Yeah.
You will not excel. So giving a personal example, so when I was doing CA, as a youngster, there is always a pressure to clear those exams. And CA, the way that it is difficult, there's always a lot of pressure. But when I started my second inning of academics and when I enrolled for CF at the age of 45, there was no pressure that whether I will clear the CFA exam or not. I was just loving it to do it. And just because of, that gain, I was in that mentality. Now I can connect what you spoke. That learnings were very easy. Otherwise, people say, "Oh, it is very difficult." And then I did my FRM also. And many youngsters who do CFA do not attempt FRM also, but I cleared that too. So the back of the mind, the gap has to be there that this is to be done, but let it not make you unhappy. You try your best, and in not taking pressure, you might probably excel, do better than by having that pressure of that gap. Am I right?
Absolutely. And in fact, to continue, see in the universities and something we call the SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat.
Yeah.
What I feel the interpretation here is generally you are asked to concentrate on your weakness and improve it. Here, I would like to concentrate on my strength and improve it better. And what I'm not so good, can I delegate, or somebody might be interested in doing that part of my work better. It's just, and the other part of it was how in the universities and all, it's just again, which I heard in the book. Earlier times, there used to be a classroom approach because once upon a time, as when the industrial revolution took place, the companies wanted workers. So the schools were probably made in a classroom. Also, the classroom is arranged, teacher is standing, and there are all rows and rows and rows of this thing. The new model would be apparently you have a round table, or earlier they were taught to obey orders. They were prepared for the factories. So in these situations, in this kind of environment, there's no right answer or the wrong answer. But if you are living in the gain with that arm of optimism, you will find some way or the other. As Mukesh Bhai, told about this example, and he will also relate, things sometimes don't go as you wish. Now, let me tell you, in the stock markets, when in 1990 the Sensex was 1,000 when I met Mukesh Bhai, and I went into this journey of stock broking, or these things. It took a swerve in the Harshad Mehta Ketan Parekh times. At that point of time, if I was living in the gap, oh my God, what a bad decision I made. I mean, I owe a lot of credit to Mukesh Bhai when I met him. He said, Rajesh, why you need the certificate of practice? If you like the stocks, you get into it. So I surrendered my certificate of practice. It was at that time, oh my God, why the hell did you surrender? You could have, become a good chartered accountant. But that took me from stock markets to insurance. And the next 10 years, I went probably, again, here just to not to impress you, but to impress upon you, it took me to the USA 15 to 20 times minimum. Attending all that's why I could hear and meet Dan Sullivan, listen to them. And today it is like kind of at this age when you're entering your 60s to give back. You learn so many things. So this is where I feel living in the gain. I'm very happy, and the outcome has been still. So probably somebody up there had the design where good that you went through this, because suddenly the dots get connected. You are a chartered accountant, you are into investments, you are into risk management, you learn what is happening around you, update yourself. And today, if the goddess Saraswati is there, then goddess Lakshmi is a close friend. So this is how you sometimes keep that in the mind and go ahead and do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for your insights, Raj bhai, Mukesh bhai. Anyone from the participants, if you guys have any questions?
Nilesh, I have one more, angle to this gap and gain. It's actually made me think so much. Maybe Rajesh, I'm going to disturb you after this session also, because what is gap and what is gain? How do you define it?
True.
Okay, I might be defining a gap in a certain way and a gain in a certain way. And whether that definition of my gap and gain is right or wrong is also very important.
Very true.
है ना?
Very
So say for a doctor, I'll give one example. Probably there were three students studying for their medical examination. Two of them were unhappy or not in a right frame of mind. One was very calm. Okay, so the first one, it's important to understand their psyche, what they are thinking. The first boy was thinking whether I will clear the exam, the negative thoughts, and he was not able to focus on his studies. The second boy is confident about clearing the exams, but he's saying, will I make enough money? and hence he is not able to concentrate. And the third guy is not thinking this at all. He is saying that I have to study properly so that whosoever patient I am attending to, वो अच्छा हो जाएगा.
Right.
And if he is successful, so automatically, and if he's studying well, he's going to clear the exams and he's going to have lots many patients and he will make money. So the gap for the first two was different, and probably the last third student was living in gain or he did not have that gap. So probably what I'm trying to say here is the way you define your gap also may not be correct. The way you're defining your gain may also be not correct. If it is a personalized gain, it we can make you, uncertain, आपको pressure दे सकता है. But when that gain is for the broader gain of the society, कि मैं अच्छी तरह से पढ़ाई करूं सो दैट जो भी पेशेंट मेरे पास आता है, आई कैन क्योर हिम. ही इज नॉट थिंकिंग ऑफ अ पर्सनल गेन कि मैं कितना पैसा बनाऊंगा. सो हाउ यू डिफाइन योर गैप एंड गेन, what is the purpose of your gap and gain? If you add that also, I think you can get a right meaning out of that gap and gain. We are probably very much wrong in defining them, and we are always unhappy.
I would like to just add one more thing, Mukesh bhai. I forgot three words I liked. Rather four words. People talk, no, oh, what to do under the current situation, this crisis which has happened. So I like these four words. Don't waste this crisis. Like, when you look at it deep, कि भाई, historically, I may have a kind of a chart like this for the
Yeah.
last 5 years, where whenever the COVID and market has fallen by 30-40%, it has risen up. COVID time, people said it's the end of the world. Financial crisis, it said now, it's the end. So what I feel is that tomorrow is a better day than today. So that is the optimism is better than pessimism. Like the nun's story, like those who are pessimistic with life. We have Harvard research or whatever the data which shows that a happy person lives longer. Now, this is, I feel, a sure short way of kind of averaging out your life a little more, looking at life ahead. So this was what I wanted to say.
And happiness comes from your bigger purpose of life.
Yeah.
So do you think that social media has increased this gap mentality in people?
See, personally now, I'll make a confession. Sometime back, my son also, when he was interning for a while, and he told, like, that why don't we get into social media? You're not on social media. So that time I said, no, I'm not interested. But today, the new generation, younger generation, unless they know about you, how do they know about you? Like, if you keep a visitor's book, they'll say, why did you keep yourself a secret? We want to know. So the earlier way of knowing is references, you get to know. Now today, so maybe that part, what I have done is probably I have kind of outsourced it out up to a certain level. I cannot, because social media, as per the book also when I've read, it tries to relate yourself with somebody higher than you. So again, you're putting in the gap because this person has achieved so much. How can I also start? Yeah, I mean, you try to post certain things which are always positive, or the people, when you read those posts, it keeps you under a little pessimism or under depression. Oh my god, this fellow has done. They don't know the reality that some of the posts may
Right.
be just out of the blue. So maybe you can define your own way of looking at it.
Right. So see, the book actually puts it in a very right perspective, right? That instead of looking at someone else's journey and kind of sulking on in that gap that you want to be this person, why not look inside yourself and kind of move
Absolutely.
forward in terms of from where you are to the positive side of things.
You're right.
So true, so true. Anyone else has a question?
Mr. Jagdish Poladi, I think, raised his hand. Can we unmute him? Jay, can we unmute? Yeah, Mr. Jagdish, you can ask.
थैंक यू। आप सबका आभार, राजेश भाई, नीलेश भाई, धीरज भाई, केसीएफ। This was the very good session, and I have learned that one thing I noticed that there are experience transformer. Step one, 5 minutes shock, 10 minutes positive focus, 20-minute gain. That was marvelous. So thank you very much. And what I used to do is प्राप्त है वो पर्याप्त है.
वाह.
So always I think whatever I have done 1 minute in the day, in 24 hours, 1 minute, I am positive. I have gained. I won't look for a gap. I try to move ahead. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very good thoughts. Very good thoughts, Jagdish bhai. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Mansi has written something.
Right.
Nilesh, you
Mansi.
can talk on that.
Yeah. So Mansi has a suggestion that to honor Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai, we should do a book review of his latest book, which is Chanakya's 100 Best Sutras. Anyone would like to do that, please reach out
Nilesh
to.
bhai, Mansi is a student of Dr. Radhakrishnan
Right,
who has
right.
done
Mansi.
Chanakya. So
Okay.
maybe
So Mansi, we can.
Mansi has also,
So
yeah,
she's come forward. She will do it,
yeah,
and I think we'll have that session very soon. Thank you, Mansi. Thank you.
yeah, excellent.
Excellent. So I think we'll wind it up for today. So as we come to an end, once again, like to sincerely thank Mr. Rajesh Chheda for taking out the time and sharing such meaningful insights with us. So there are actually five very interesting books that this author has written. I would say in an order that you should read. Right. One is Who Not How. The second is The Gap and the Gain. The third is 10x is easier than 2x. The fourth is How the Best Get Better. And the fifth is Laws of Lifetime Growth. Laws means LAWS, laws. Laws of Lifetime Growth. These five books, if you read in that order, I think it'll be an eye-opening journey for your business growth. Uh, Thank you to every participant who joined us today and made the session interactive and engaging. Uh, Books like these, I mean, The Gap and the Gain, remind us that success is not just about the destination, but is also about recognizing the distance that we have already covered, right? Uh, Thank you, Mukesh bhai, for giving me this opportunity to connect with you all. And finally, thanks to the Boomerang team for coordinating and managing the event. We hope to continue bringing many more such learning sessions through KCF. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful Sunday ahead. Bye bye.